Welcome to hour number 3, our third and final live right here on this Wednesday on the early line on SportsGrid. I am Ben Stevens. He is Donnie Rightside. Thank you for joining us all across the SportsGrid network. Plenty of football conversations here in this third and final hour with week number 18 of this NFL season on the horizon. The regular finale in the regular season for the NFL in 2023. We will preview the slate. Up next, we'll talk about the NBA tonight as well. And Donnie, part of the conversations around Week 18 are always fascinating. Of course, first and foremost, our focus is on those playoff clinching scenarios all around the league, either earning a playoff berth or winning a divisional championship or potentially seed lines around that playoff picture in either conference. But for every team around the NFL, you're also focusing on the future and what is in store in 2024. That is the case for the Chicago Bears. We asked the public, Donnie, with the Bears now having the number 1 overall pick for the 2024 NFL Draft, who should be that starting quarterback in Chicago next season? Is it Justin Fields, who they used the 11th overall pick on in 2021? Or could it be Caleb Williams? They have the odds-on favorite to be that first overall selection in 2024. And surprisingly, Donnie, most of the public, around 72% at SportsGrid TV on Twitter, is saying the Bears should stick with Justin Fields.
Yeah, and as we welcome in the radio audience here to watch this and listen to this Sirius XM channel 159. Yeah, I don't want to give anything away. The radio needed to be here to hear this. Now, when you're trying to break down the Chicago Bears, I like the way they ended the season here. Got one more game to go, probably a legitimate chance they can win this final game. And boy, it would be sweet if you could knock off the Green Bay Packers. But having said that, Justin Fields is a deserving starting quarterback in the NFL. If he's not in Chicago, he'll start somewhere else. I do think he does have a bright future in the NFL, but this is a rare circumstance, Ben, where you draft, as you said, the 11th overall pick here for Justin Fields. You're not supposed to be 2 or 3 years later drafting again with the number 1 overall pick. That usually means it was a complete whiff that you had your starting quarterback as Justin Fields, and you have to move on. That's not the case. He showed promise. He doesn't even have a lot of weapons at the wide receiver position. DJ Moore's quality, don't get me wrong, but take a look around the other quarterbacks that are succeeding big time, like the Philadelphia Eagles, if you have a Devontae Smith and you have an A.J. Brown, or if you go down south to the Dolphins and have a Waddle and or a Tyreek Hill. He doesn't have that by any stretch, and last year was an embarrassment to send him out with basically nothing to throw to here.
Right.
But you made a great move here to trade that pick and put you in position to make the number 1 overall pick. Here's what I'm saying. It should be Caleb Williams, because I don't know, Ben, if I can pass up what Caleb Williams brings to the table as an accurate passer and also a mobile guy in the pocket. Yeah. I think the upside on Caleb Williams being able to win a Super Bowl is better than Justin Fields' upside. And again, this isn't a knock on Justin Fields, but you're talking about one of those quarterbacks that people were saying, I want to tank for a few years to make sure Caleb Williams comes out. I don't think you can pass that up. And again, Justin Fields will be a starter somewhere else and probably have some good success. But the height of Caleb Williams, when he is right, if you get him in Chicago, that could mean Super Bowls.
Yeah. Now, in fairness, we do this every year. Next year's quarterback class in 2025, by the time we get to the 2024 NFL Draft, is going to be the one that everybody should tank for. And I wonder, Donnie, how this conversation might differ if USC had a successful year and did not go 7-5, and did not leave with a few lasting images of the 2022 Heisman winner in Caleb Williams and how play looked in 2023. None of it was his fault at Southern Cal. Blame solely Alex Grinch or the head coach Lincoln Riley for being loyal to Alex Grinch and that abysmal Trojans defense all year long. But Caleb Williams is going to be an outstanding NFL quarterback. He was probably one of the best 10 college quarterbacks we have seen in the last 2 decades. He's a minus 500 odds-on favorite to be that number 1 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. That's why we can focus in on Caleb Williams and not Drake May nor Jaden Daniels for who is going to be the quarterback in the Windy City moving forward. And you know me, Donnie, I have been a staunch advocate and defender of Justin Fields the entirety of his NFL career, dating back to his draft selection process in 2021. And like you, I agree that Justin Fields is going to continue to be a successful starting quarterback in the National Football League. We have seen glimpses. Are glimpses enough? That's a different equation. But when you look at what Justin Fields did at home on Sunday against Atlanta, 20 of 32, 268 yards, a touchdown toss, 45 yards on the ground, and another rushing score. That is the epitome of how Justin Fields plays the quarterback position, growing more and more comfortable in the 12 games he has played here in year number 3. There are interesting questions for the Bears as well, because when you enter year number 4 on that first round rookie deal, a team either has to pick up that 5th-year option or let him play out year number 4, and then he becomes a unrestricted free agent entering year number 5. Or the Bears can part with Justin Fields for some draft capital moving back. All of it is very interesting, Donnie, for Chicago, because they have by far the most draft capital this year. They have by far the most overall capital, and what I mean by that is cap room, north of $100 million. I think that blows out everybody else in the NFL by $40 to $50 million for a young Bears roster that has given us some success here down the stretch, of course, in what they have been able to do, winners of 4 of their last 5 games, to look at the future. I'm just not so sure what that quarterback decision is going to be, what the head coaching decision is going to be under Matt Eberflus as well. I think if you ask me right here, right now, I would stick with Justin Fields because I believe in him as a quarterback and the talent you could accumulate around him. But I would not be surprised, or would I be mad, I guess, if Chicago made the move to Caleb Williams.
And you're right. You bring up a lot of very good points here, which means that Justin Fields, you're not evaluating him in like his second year as a pro, going like, hey, we got a couple more years here. The time is ticking on, and when you have to pay your quarterback, and let's be real here, because most people, the fans, will be like, oh, we just signed him to a 1-year extension for $18 million to prove it deal. Do you see what Daniel Jones got? Daniel Jones got $40+ million as a terrible starting quarterback. So you know what Justin Fields is going to start out? Minimum $45 million per year, which if you get Caleb Williams, you basically have 6 full years of that rookie contract. And if he excels by year 2 or 3 and all the cap space that you have to build around him, that could be a dynamite franchise over the next decade or so. Put it this way, Ben. I don't think they can lose either way, but I think that Powerball upside here for Caleb Williams is worth it to take. But you're right about this. Still fun for the fans. If you keep Fields and go, okay, we got the number 1 overall pick. Let's trade back to 3. We'll get 2 more first-round picks. We'll get Marvin Harrison Jr. We're still going to have a lot of cap space, and away you go. So if you're a Bears fan here, the future is bright no matter where you go here. But I think if you want to maximize that talent over the next 15 years, it's Caleb Williams for me.
That's the idea as well. You don't often get to select number 1 overall. Chicago had that pick and traded it to Carolina in 2023. Is it worth passing up on who could be a generational talent in Caleb Williams? I guess Ryan Poles will ultimately decide. More around the NFL up next.
It looked like it was going in. It hit the upright and bounced out and did not go in. There's more scoring in an MLS soccer game than there is this Cotton Bowl. The Chargers didn't know what the hell to do with Staley for years. They're a clown show in Chief. Denver's got this issue, Gabe. Like, the Chiefs must just be sitting there going, wow, what a bunch of brain trust we work with in this division.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I'm laying the 14.5.
And against the number as an underdog this year, meaning when they cover, they went out by beat.
There's a very real chance that this Michigan season is the best chance they will have.
Oh, Rocky Top, Tennessee.
So, am I just a side better now?
I'm right here on Saturday on College Football Today. It's bowl season, baby.
College Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Who are you taking?
Well, especially if you know that maybe Kuzma could get moved. Tyus Jones is a free agent. To me, I'm taking Detroit with Cade, with Ivy, with Doran, and then obviously Ashore Thompson, and also because of Monty Williams, I know he's a better coach than that.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back, the irony. I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here on the early line on this Wednesday on SportsGrid. Week 18 of this NFL regular season is on the horizon. The regular season finale around the National Football League. It's Ben, it's Donnie, and now joining us, the man in the middle, Craig Mish, is here on this Wednesday on TEL as well, the host of Newswire, who will get you underway at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Craig, a very happy new year. Thank you for joining us to set the stage for Week 18 here on this Wednesday.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Of course, game Saturday, Sunday, and then national championship on Monday, and that's it for college football. Man, it was just started, and here we go at the end.
A great 3-day run of football with those two games on Saturday around the National Football League, and both have tremendous playoff ramifications. First, we start in a battle where no love is ever lost. That's the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers on the road right now booked as a favorite. And Craig, maybe this is why. Baltimore already knows where they stand. 13 wins this year, the number one overall seed in the AFC, a bye week to begin the postseason. But maybe an additional rest week to allow some of the starters to kick back in this AFC North rivalry against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Craig, ultimately, do you think we see Lamar Jackson out there on Saturday in the Charm City?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that with his injury history, it really, in this particular case, doesn't make a lot of sense. But I do think that the Ravens are going to come to play in this game. I mean, Harbaugh is not going to lay down against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a division game. At the beginning of the season, there's a reason why the NFL schedule makers put this on Week 18, because they thought maybe this would be for the division, the last game of the season. So I think that's why you see the line shift now down to 3.5, as opposed to where it started off being at 4. I guess the question is, Ben, can Pittsburgh – I know Pittsburgh beat Seattle, but they got a little lucky at the end of that game to win by as much as they did. But Pittsburgh, generally speaking, would love to win by a minuscule of a point and just somehow get to the playoffs. So – I really don't have a strong position on this game, but if I had to lean to one side, I probably would take Baltimore. And at the very least, I would take Baltimore in the first half. I don't know what the Ravens are going to look like in the second half of this game. And my concern would be is, guys, if they even pulled Huntley and went another direction for, like, let's say the final quarter, then at that point you would really have to favor Pittsburgh. But not my favorite game on the schedule, but certainly love the fact that the NFL gave us a Saturday game this week, so I can't complain.
Here's what's interesting about this game, Craig, too, because for me, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers win. Why? They have to win. And also the fact of the matter is they won't even know if they're in the playoffs until later that night. Correct. In the flex game between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. They'll be full tilt. But here's the interesting part. You're right about this, though, Craig. If there's one team that counts, hey, if there's a score and there's a clock on the board, it's the Baltimore Ravens. You just have to go back to the preseason. Doesn't matter first string, second string, third string, or fourth string. They're built in that franchise to win football games if we have a game to play. play. But how about this? The line shifted from 2.5 as a favorite towards Baltimore to 3.5 for Pittsburgh. And that's correct because we're not expecting all starters to go for Baltimore, or at least for that full game. But now as I check the weather forecast in the Northeast, it says all 4 quarters, heavy snow expected, winds of 12 to 14 miles an hour, which if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you would love that. Say, okay, we're down some wide receivers. We're down maybe our star running back, or maybe star quarterback, but we still have a mobile quarterback here, whereas Pittsburgh doesn't have that. If this game gets grimy here into that game with heavy snow, there is a legitimate chance that it doesn't matter how good your wide receivers are or your quarterback, if he's not mobile, won't make the difference. So I'm looking at this as a possibility of a victory here for the Ravens, not because I think they win, but maybe because of the conditions overall. But also, secondarily here, is it like if you're the Ravens right now, the best team in football, are you playing any starters in this football game, though? I'm not playing any of them if I can avoid it.
No, but you would probably consider Huntley a top 15 backup in the NFL. We've seen some other backups who do not qualify. Huntley won games when Lamar Jackson was out. And if Keaton Mitchell plays in this game, I expect him to play. He's a pretty good running back, too. He threw to the backups against Miami late in that game and scored a touchdown as well. You could probably make the case with the best team in the NFL. You would say that their backups may be better than 2 or 3 teams in the NFL at the bottom, right? Like, I mean, these things are all possible, and the game's in Baltimore too. So, again, it's not that I don't think Pittsburgh can win the game, but they would just be so thankful to get out of there with any win that they can. And they generally are not running it up on anyone outside of that first half against Cincinnati. And look what the Bengals just played their worst half of the season a couple of weeks ago. So my lean would be toward the Ravens. I'm not sure that they win the game, but maybe the first half would be the way to go there for them to keep it close, maybe even have a lead, and then Pittsburgh inevitably wins in the end. We see that a lot in these final week games where the games are competitive for about a half, and then they're out. But, again, going back to like game motivation and all that, I mean, Green Bay, all they needed was a win against Detroit last year, and they couldn't get it. And Detroit was playing for nothing. So, at this stage of the game, I think everybody is ready to expect the unexpected, and that's why the NFL sets it up like this on Sunday.
36.5 is that total. The 2 best underdog teams in the last decade and a half in the National Football League face off. Baltimore, a 62.5% cover percentage under John Harbaugh since he became the head man for the flock in 2008. Only the Steelers a better cover percentage as an underdog in that span. Pittsburgh makes the playoffs with a win, and then a litany of help is needed. A Buffalo loss, a Jacksonville loss or tie, or a tie between the Colts and the Texans in the Saturday nightcap in that AFC South matchup. But Craig, as we move forward, Baltimore will be the number 1 seed in the AFC. The number 1 seed in the NFC is the San Francisco 49ers. Christian McCaffrey ruled out already for Sunday's game against the LA Rams, nursing a calf injury. That is the issue. He will get an additional week of rest for San Francisco. But Craig, when we look at this line, the 49ers, a 3-point home favorite against a Rams team that sure has already clinched a playoff berth, but if they lose and Green Bay wins, the Rams would fall down to the 7th seed. Green Bay, courtesy of a head-to-head tiebreaker, would become the 6th seed. I'm a little bit surprised then, Craig, to see the Rams as an underdog. What do you make of the matchup in Santa Clara?
Yeah, I'm actually not. I think this is a team that has played through a ton of injuries this season. Their quarterback, both receivers, their running back, I don't think anybody is going to play for the Rams this week. And if that is the case, their backups are not people that I want to see on a field playing against anybody. So I think I understand it, and that's why San Francisco's favored in this game. 49ers probably going to go with a combination of Elijah Mitchell and some of their backup receivers. There's only so many offensive linemen you can play, but I think the Rams sit on their hands in this game. I like the under more than anything else in this play because certainly could come very well down to the end. But guys, we've seen the Rams play without Stafford. We've seen them play without Cooper Kupp at the beginning of the season. I know they rallied late. Nakua played great with him out. They weren't winning a lot of games like they are now. So for me, I think Rams are just all sitting this week. That's a guess from me, obviously, just reading between the lines.
Yeah, this should be like a preseason game where it's like, hey, home team gets 3 points here. Let's see how it plays out on the field. Because also keep in mind, Sam Darnold, we'll see how he gets some burn there. And if you are the 49ers, you don't just want to treat this game as, let's hand it off 32 times. You probably want to get him some, feel, some concepts here and play with maybe a starter or two to get some of those good vibes for the playoffs if you need them here. Now let's flip it over to Dallas and Washington quickly, Craig. The Philadelphia Eagles lost the game to Arizona, which paved the way for Dallas to get 2 home games. There's no way Dallas loses this game, is there, Craig? Oof.
No. But, Washington is playing horrible down the stretch here, making massive mistakes, both coaching and playing too. And even their starting quarterback gets hurt in practice, and Jacoby Brissett last week, so they went to Sam Howell. Season is far being over for Washington. I don't see any motivation for them. But again, it's hard to cover 14 points in the NFL. But I don't see any scenario where Washington wins this week. None.
Last year in the regular season finale, these two teams faced off. Dallas played all their starters all game long, and Sam Howell, in his first start of his NFL career, upset the Cowboys 26-6. I wonder if that is fresh in the minds of Dallas this upcoming weekend. Craig Mish, thank you so much. We'll see you on Newswire in about 40 minutes. More on the early line up next here on SportsGrid.
It looked like it was going in. It hit the upright and bounced out and did not go in. There's more scoring in an MLS soccer game than there is this Cotton Bowl.
The Chargers didn't know what the hell to do with Staley for years. They're a clown show in Chief. Denver's got this issue, Gabe. Like, the Chiefs must just be sitting there going, wow, what a bunch of brain trust we work with in this division.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back. I'm laying the 14.5. And against the number as an underdog this year, meaning when they cover, they went out by beat. There's a very real chance that this Michigan season is the best chance they will have.
Oh, Rocky Top, Tennessee.
So, am I just a side better now? I'm right here on Saturday on College Football Today. It's bowl season, baby.
College Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Who are you taking? Well, especially if you know that maybe Kuzma could get moved. Tyus Jones is a free agent. To me, I'm taking Detroit with Cade, with Ivy, with Doran, and then obviously Ashore Thompson, and also because of Monty Williams, I know he's a better coach than that.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back, the irony. I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We get you ready for week number 18 of this National Football League regular season, the regular season finale around the NFL. Welcome back to a Wednesday live right here on the early line. I'm Ben Stevens. He is Donnie Rightside, and Boomer Esiason joins us now live on this Wednesday on the early line. The former NFL MVP gets you set for the regular season finale. Boomer, a happy new year to you. Thank you for joining us as always on this Wednesday on the early line.
It's always my pleasure, guys. Happy New Year to you guys as well. And one final weekend of the regular season, and we'll finally have our answers as to who is going to make it to Super Bowl 58.
Boomer, from one MVP to another, it seems as though Lamar Jackson has already wrapped up the award. Minus 20,000 is the price for Lamar on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the NFL MVP award of the 2023 season. And Boomer, when you look up and down the awards list at this moment, everybody is a hefty odds-on favorite. Boomer, as we enter the regular season finale, is there any non-favorite in any of these award markets to keep an eye on?
An eye on Dan Campbell, the coach of the Lions. He's done something that they haven't done in 30 years, and he's done a masterful job. And I heard you guys talking in the previous segment about what happened to the Packers last year. You know, Aaron Rodgers was hoping to lead them to the playoffs, and what did the Lions do? They went in there and they upset the Packers. And I think that was like a jumping-off point for the Lions, and I think it carried through this season. If you remember, this offseason was always about, opening up at Kansas City. Nobody gave them a chance. And Dan Campbell's done a great job out in Detroit. So I am one of these 50 AP voters for all of these different awards, and I take these awards very, very seriously. And as I was sitting down yesterday going through all the mounds of paper and statistics and everything that's going on, I'm telling you, some of these awards, with the exception maybe of MVP, because I think we all feel like Lamar the last 2 weeks against the Dolphins and the 49ers has clearly separated himself from every other quarterback in contention. I would say that all of these other awards are still up for debate, and I don't necessarily know that the favorites that we see on the board that you guys just showed are going to be the ones that are going to ultimately win it.
Yeah, it's a good point you bring up too, Boomer, because when you take a look at the FanDuel Sportsbook isn't actually voting on it, saying, oh, they're the heavy favorite, they're going to win it. Other people are voting on this, we'll watch it play out. But the one thing I do want to talk about is this Sunday night's action. So many times in the NFL, we worry about, why did they flex that game, or why didn't they flex this game? They got it right with the Bills and the Dolphins for all the marbles in the AFC East. You take a look at the Buffalo Bills squeaking by the New England Patriots. Then on the opposite side, the Dolphins went north to take on the Ravens and got blasted and injured in that game. Talk to us about Sunday night, what you anticipate to happen, and maybe who the winner is going to be.
I always say it's not who you play, it's when you play them. What kind of condition are they in? The Buffalo Bills went through their swoon in the middle of the season. They lost Matt Milano. They had to figure out their defense. Josh Allen wasn't playing great. They fired their offensive coordinator. Joe Brady has taken over now. They're running the ball more with James Cook. And all of a sudden, the Buffalo Bills look like a completely different team. And Josh Allen looks like the quarterback that we saw back in week 2 and 3 before they went before they went to London to play Jacksonville. And then all of a sudden their season stopped right there. And then the injury started to hit them. Now all of a sudden that is happening to the Miami Dolphins. Don't forget they lost Jalen Phillips in the Black Friday game against the Jets. And now they lose Bradley Chubb. Their 2 best pass rushers are no longer going to be in uniform for them. And Xavier Howard's probably going to be out for this game as well. And I would imagine that Josh Allen is going to be licking his chops, and they can't wait to get down there. So these two teams are headed in opposite directions for different reasons. The Miami Dolphins have been one of the more exciting teams, if not the most exciting team to follow this year. But I'll tell you what, this drubbing at the hands of the Baltimore Ravens is startling to me. And it's like the last thing you want to have happen in Week 17 is have a game where it's the worst game of the year for you and you lose significant players due to injury. So I think the Buffalo Bills are surging right now. And they would be a team that I would worry about in the AFC playoffs because I do think that they're going to win this game, and I think they're going to they will get the number 2 seed in the AFC, which is really crazy when you think about their season.
6-6, entering their bye week, and after that, 4 consecutive wins, entering this regular season finale. Buffalo now the 3rd best price to win the AFC Championship at plus 430. Miami, even if Buffalo does claim their 4th straight AFC East divisional crown, has already clinched a playoff berth. So, Boomer, when you look at the 7th spot, the 3rd and final wild card position in the AFC, entering this final weekend, who do you think earns that final spot in the AFC postseason?
I think we all realize it's going to take 10 wins to do that. Now, the Steelers can do that on Saturday. They can get to their 10th win, but then they're going to need some help. They're going to need one of two teams to lose. I think you guys went over that in the previous segment as well, so I'm not going to reiterate that. But the Steelers should be able to beat the Ravens. I know the Ravens are not going to lay down, but there's no way that John Harbaugh is going to play Lamar Jackson any significant amount of time, or if at all. I don't think that we're going to see that. Huntley was a good player for them last year. He played well in the playoffs. They gave the Bengals all they could handle. So it's not like they're putting somebody back there that can't play. The question is how long will he play? And if he doesn't play that long, I could see Mason Rudolph and the Steelers going in and beating the Ravens and having to sit around the next day and wait to see what happens and whether or not they get the help. So I'd like to see the Steelers make it. That would be a great story. It was about 5 weeks ago where everybody was wondering whether or not Mike Tomlin was going to be on the firing line, and we all said the same thing. How could you actually even think that? And maybe they saved their season too by changing their offensive coordinator and then having to go to their third quarterback, Mason Rudolph, who he's staying with this week. So that shows me he's playing the hot hand and he expects to make it to the playoffs.
Boomer, if we keep it in the AFC here, currently in that third seed, the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's so hard to say this, are we underestimating the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid? A plus 450 price right now as it stands at the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the AFC. Can they do it, or did they already reveal themselves? They're just a level below what they were in the previous years.
I think they could do it just simply because of the men that you just mentioned. But I will say last week on the NFL Today, we talked about the Chiefs incessantly. There are three things that I hate about them right now. They lead the league in offensive penalties. They have the most drop passes, especially at the wide receiver position. And I think they're either 6th or 7th in turnovers. It's hard to turn all of that stuff off and then all of a sudden raise the level of your game where that doesn't become an impact negatively on your team. So those are the things that they have to overcome. But you know what? I will never count out Patrick Mahomes like I never counted out Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. Anytime those guys are in games, they can win those games. So that's why the record, while it reflects a staggering amount of frustration with them, it still shows that they are the best team in the AFC West, and you are going to have to go to Arrowhead and beat them at least in week 1.
Yeah, they will host a playoff game. Will they host the AFC Championship like they have the previous 5 NFL seasons? That will be figured out in the playoffs. Boomer, to the other conference. In the NFC, so much to figure out. Who's going to be the 2 seed? Who's going to win the NFC East? Who's going to win the NFC South? Who's going to claim the final wild card spot in that 7 seed? So when you look at the playoff picture in the NFC, Boomer, entering week number 18, to you, what's the most interesting race?
Well, to me, I think, the NFC East basically is the Eagles have collapsed here. And I think we talked about this 3 weeks ago. I thought the Eagles were going to get right here at the end of the season, playing the Giants twice and playing the Arizona Cardinals. But Kyler Murray and I guess Coach Gannon had some different ideas, and they basically knocked the Eagles now down to number 5. So I do believe that the Cowboys will beat the Washington Commanders. They'll have the number 2 seed. The Eagles will be the number 5 seed. They'll go probably play Tampa Bay, who's catching Carolina at the right time right now. So the interesting thing for me, and maybe the hardest game to really put your finger on, is the Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers. So the Green Bay Packers find themselves in the same spot that they found themselves in last year at this time. Different quarterback, different set of situation, but a Chicago Bear team that has found its footing, especially defensively. And I think Justin Fields has got a lot to play for. He may be playing for somebody else next year, but if he goes in there in Lambeau and he beats the Packers, that's a pretty good resume builder for me. I would make a trade for him if I couldn't find my quarterback of the future. If I were, say, I don't know, the Atlanta Falcons or maybe even the New York Giants, somebody along those lines that would be looking for somebody with his athleticism and his will to win, which now we have seen come to the forefront.
Yeah, he's been really good. And also, I think the Bears are in a win-win scenario in that no matter if they choose Caleb Williams or if they make a trade, I think they'll do well there. Let me just keep it in the NFC for one quick question. Winners of 6 of 7 games, Boom, the Los Angeles Rams heading into the playoffs. Is this a team that at a 25-1 price at the FanDuel Sportsbook can do some damage and getting hot at the right time?
I think they can, and I think they're going to win this game. Well, we're not going to see Christian McCaffrey. I don't know how much we'll see Brock Purdy. Maybe we'll see more of Sam Darnold for the San Francisco 49ers. But the way that Matthew Stafford has played, I know a lot of people looking at Joe Flacco and how great he has been, and he has been for the Rams, no question. I mean, for the Browns, no question about that. But Matthew Stafford has played exceptionally well, and what he has done with his three wide receivers has been pretty much amazing. So I think that the Rams have a really good chance of winning this week, and then they go on the road, and hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed that they go to the Detroit Lions at the number 3 seed, because that would be great. Matthew Stafford back in Detroit and Jared Goff against the team that traded him away for Matthew Stafford, the Rams. That would be a great first-round matchup in the NFC.
Can you imagine that? After more than a decade in the Motor City, in the first playoff game in the Motor City in more than 30 years, Matthew Stafford returns as the quarterback of the LA Rams, and that's why, Boomer, it stands out to me. The Rams right now are a 3-point underdog in Santa Clara against the 49ers as of right now on FanDuel for week number 18. Boomer Esiason joining us live right here on this Wednesday on the early line. On behalf of FanDuel, Boomer, we appreciate the time and look forward to the regular season finale.
Always my pleasure, guys. Happy New Year.
We'll talk to you next week when the playoffs have been ironed out. Now we turn our attention to the NBA. We go around the association. Up next.
It looked like it was going in. It hit the upright and bounced out and did not go in. There's more scoring in an MLS soccer game than there is this Cotton Bowl.
The Chargers didn't know what the hell to do with Staley for years. They're a clown show in chief. Denver's got this issue, Gabe. Like, the Chiefs must just be sitting there going, wow, what a bunch of brain trust we work with in this division.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right. I'm laying the 14.5. And against the number as an underdog this year, meaning when they cover, they went out by beat. There's a very real chance that this Michigan season is the best chance they will have.
Oh, Rocky Top, Tennessee.
So, am I just a side better now? I'm right here on Saturday on College Football Today. It's bowl season, baby.
College Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Who are you taking? Well, especially if you know that maybe Kuzma could get moved. Tyus Jones is a free agent. To me, I'm taking Detroit with Cade, with Ivy, with Doran, and then obviously Ashore Thompson, and also because of Monty Williams, I know he's a better coach than that.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back,
The irony.
I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Around the association we go on this Wednesday to set the stage for the Wednesday night slate in the NBA with the two premier hardwood handicappers on the SportsGrid network. Donnie Rightside and myself, Ben Stevens. This will be the fifth time already this season, DRS. There will be a central focus between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Indiana Pacers. They played just a few nights ago, I believe, on New Year's Day as the Sugar Bowl was rolling on. Indiana on the road in Milwaukee won that game 122-113 outright as an 8-point underdog. A total of 261 and a hook stays under. The total tonight still up there at 257 between the Bucks and the Pacers once again in downtown Indianapolis. Now at 258 is that number. 3.5 points in favor of the Bucks on the road. Two teams that know each other very well. Donnie, what do you expect?
Yeah, they do know each other real well. Maybe a bounce-back effort. I'm expecting the Bucks to have a good performance. Why? Because all their starters will be intact. You got Lillard, Beasley, Middleton, Antetokounmpo, and Lopez anticipated to be in the starting lineup here. And maybe it'll be the Tyrese Halliburton show, but I'm just going to get back to the initial points. There's no handicap needed on this basketball game for something approaching 260. All you need is one quarter where they don't shoot the lights out, and you will cash in that ticket. So forget about me saying I think the Bucks are going to win by margin in this game. I don't care about that. I'm just going to sit on the under because that number is so high. I need 128-26 quarter, and I'm cashing that ticket.
Indiana this year as an underdog, 9-8 against the spread. Plenty of those 9 covers have come by the way of an outright victory. The Pacers have won 4 in a row. Now at 18-14, of course, Milwaukee, second best record in the Eastern Conference, third best in the association, 24-9 straight up this year. A 3.5-point number for a team that lost to Indiana in Indianapolis just 2 nights ago. Wednesday props for Tyrese Halliburton, 25.5 points, 13.5 assists, and 4.5 rebounds. Are you going to look at your favorite guy when it comes to P+A or PRA, points, rebounds, and assists tonight?
Yeah, he should be a monster, but also let's take a look at the interesting roller coaster of Damian Lillard this year as well in this game. You have, let's just take how about a 5-game sample size? 19 points, 32, 12, 31, and then 13. I don't know if I've ever seen this before where he literally plays a great basketball game immediately followed by an absolute clunker. In the previous game against the Indiana Pacers, 38 minutes, 3 for 16 from the floor, which included a 1 for 9 from three-point range. So based on what Damian Lillard does, we're expecting a big-time performance out of the veteran guard. That's probably who's going to get my money tonight.
Tyrese Halliburton, 13.5 assists. This year, he is averaging 12.7 dimes per game. Of course, that leads the NBA. He nearly had a triple-double on Monday night against Milwaukee, 26 points over the prop, 11 dimes under that prop, 9 rebounds. You might think 11, that's still pretty good. Well, he had 43 combined in the previous 2 for Milwaukee, entering 23 on Saturday against the Knicks, 20 assists a couple of days prior to that against the Chicago Bulls. This Indiana team will be one to pay attention to throughout the regular season and maybe even into the Eastern Conference playoffs. So we've spoken often today about the best teams in the NBA. Milwaukee, third best record. We saw last night a matchup of 2 of the 4 best records in the NBA. Boston, best in the association against Oklahoma City, second best in the West. The best in the West is in Minneapolis, where the Timberwolves will host the New Orleans Pelicans tonight. The Wolves, a 6.5-point home favorite against the Pels. The over-under, Donnie, 222.5.
Yeah, it looks like the right side in this game should be the Minnesota Timberwolves to win, but the question is, can they win by margin, which means probably 8 or more points? I think they can, because why? You're going to take the New Orleans Pelicans here off a back-to-back. Did they play well yesterday? Yes. Did Zion play well? Of course, but that probably means Zion isn't going to play tonight. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves for me, just on that back-to-back notion. A rested team at home playing a team that played last night. Yeah. I'll go Minnesota Timberwolves here and certainly take a look at that equation. By the way, I don't really, I wonder if Zion does play in this game, because are we just still on a pitch count for him for the entire season? But based on that, I think he probably sits out. I'll go Timberwolves here regardless.
Yeah, tough again at 10:45 a.m. Eastern time to get a full picture of a game that will be played later tonight in Minneapolis. No props listed for anybody on the Pels right now. Anthony Edwards, the highest points prop for Minnesota, 28.5. The Timberwolves as a favorite this year, 11-10-2 against the number. New Orleans has been great when booked as the underdog, 9-4-1 ATS. All right, next up we go inside 8:40 p.m. Eastern time inside Madison Square Garden. Is that a late night tip tonight inside MSG? That's a late number.
Saw the Sugar Bowl.
8:40 p.m. Eastern time. I get Sugar Bowl. Donnie's going to be I might even be asleep by the time this game tips off. 9-point number in favor of the Knickerbockers against the Chicago Bulls. Over under 220.5. Chicago makes the short trip from Philadelphia to New York City, but the second leg of a road back-to-back for Chicago. Last night they lost by 13, did not cover as a 10-point dog against a Joel Embiid 31-point triple-double leading the way for the Sixers. What do you make of this game inside MSG?
Maybe an under because you're going to have some tired legs there for the Bulls. You only got the 90 points last night. But if you want to take a look at the Knicks side here, wouldn't it be Julius Randle? Look at his last three performances, 38, 28, and 39. But also taking into account how many shots he's putting up. Because so many times you say, okay, well, what's my athlete going to do tonight? Is he going to perform? Is he going to shoot well? Well, you're just asking for opportunities. Shot attempts in the last three games, 25, 22, and 24. So Julius Randle will be a spot for me. Now, here's the issue. I just told you it's an under. They're not playing the Indiana Pacers, who would really get after it up and down. If you're expecting Chicago to be around 100 points, maybe that does limit Julius Randle. But from my perspective, guys that are heating up on the offensive side, they don't slow down and say, let me get the rest of my team involved. Guys like Julius Randle, they shoot 20 more times from the field tonight. His points prop to the over, that's what I'll be digging into.
The Knicks 10-6 against the spread as a favorite. Chicago as a dog, 12-10-1 now against the number, not covering last night in Philly. But the Bulls are playing better basketball. They got off to a 5-14 start. They have won 10 of their last 16 games, and they had won 10 of their last 15, entering last night, of course, against the 76ers. I know it's the second leg of a back-to-back. Number feels a little bit large for my liking, and the Knicks were the best defense in the NBA in the first couple of weeks of this season in the association. Have kind of trailed off a little bit since that point. Right now, the Knicks have actually played 18 of their 33 games overall this year to an over. We have two teams going in different directions in the Western Conference, both expected to be contenders for that conference crown this year. Facing off tonight in the Valley, no Kevin Durant for Phoenix. The Suns a 3.5-point home underdog against the LA Clippers, who in the month of December had a really, really good month. Are they the correctly favored side tonight in the Valley?
Yeah, I think if we were taking a look at here, I want to say Phoenix is on a 4-game win streak here. So certainly, not only say righting the ship per se, but at least playing a little bit better basketball. But again, this is the same thing we talk about time and time again with the Suns. Yeah. Remember we talked about it last week, like, hey, look at this. Finally, the big three is going to play together. And then just a couple games later, it's like, yeah, the big three is not even on a back-to-back, and they're not going to play together. Anticipated starting lineup tonight for the Suns, Booker, Beal, Allen, Metu, and Nurkic. Look, I'm going to probably just lean on the Clippers at this point here. A slight favorite for a reason. They'll be full go, full gas. We'll see if they can win this game tonight, and I do believe they will.
Yeah, the Phoenix Suns have won 4 straight after they dropped 5 of their last 6, and they really struggled through the most early part of December. But into 2024, a victory in their first game over Portland, winning by 21 again. The Phoenix Suns have won 4 straight games. The Clippers have won 3 straight as well. As a favorite this year now for LA, 15-10 against the spread. Again, no Kevin Durant tonight for the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Yusuf Nurkic are going to be out there. Beal, 20.5. Booker, 27.5. Of course, answered on the other side by Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and James Harden. 25 and a hook for Kawhi. Which trio tonight, not Kevin Durant in the ultimate super team for Phoenix, but which trio tonight, Donnie, performs better?
Yeah, if you're looking from betting perspectives, wouldn't you lean towards the Suns here? Because it's going to be Booker and Beal top heavy at this point. If you're taking a look at Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden, any one of those three guys can step up. But if you're trying to narrow the field down and say to yourself, which one of the Suns do I want to take? Look, Bradley Beal's been injured for a long time. The last game that he played before, I guess, sitting out multiple games was December the 13th. He scored 6 points. Took about 5-6 games off, came back. What did he score, Ben? 6 points. But how about the last 2 games versus Orlando and versus Portland? Both of those also being home games. 25 points and 21 points here. I'm going to buy a little bit lower on Bradley Beal to say he's going to get into the 20s tonight, and I'm confident he can take down that total. Why? Because he's working his way back, got a couple games under his belt, 29 minutes, 34 minutes, 34 minutes. No Kevin Durant. Those shots got to come from somewhere. Give me Beal to go over 20 points tonight, Ben.
I like the look, and Kawhi Leonard over 25.5 for me. 24 in the first game of 2024 for LA, but over the number and pretty consistently in 7 straight prior. Still kind of a discount at 25.5 for the Claw. Again, 2 teams that for most of the final month of 2023 were going in opposite directions. Phoenix, as we have shared, won their final 3 games of the calendar year 2023, and their opener in 2024. It's a 4-game win streak for the Suns, but they were 3-8 for most of December prior to that. The Clips entered the month of December 2 games below 500 at 8-10. LA went 11-12 in the month of December, won their opening game of 2024 against Miami, covering as a home favorite, winning by 17. Now the Clippers with a 20-12 overall record. And Donnie, something we talked about earlier in the show. Teams like Oklahoma City, 24-9 now, second best in the NBA. In the Western Conference. The Minnesota Timberwolves, best record in the Western Conference at this moment, but it's still the Nuggets, the Suns, and the Clippers ahead of both of those teams. Denver, the favorite out west, plus 195. Phoenix, 5-1. LA, plus 750. Oklahoma City and Minnesota at 8-1. The odds makers still, Donnie, believing in the teams, at least when it comes to the postseason, versus those up-and-coming teams right now that are having success in the regular season so far.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting point of emphasis as you wind down. The more veteran teams, they're looking towards, okay, forget about the regular season. We don't take it as serious. If we can just project that teams like the Phoenix Suns will be fully healthy entering into the playoffs, they are going to get a bump. But if you take a look at the records here versus 500 teams or above, look at the Minnesota Timberwolves here, Ben. 15-6 on the season. They're not just beating on chump teams here. They're playing very good basketball. And also, these are younger teams that haven't met their mettle in the playoffs just yet. You got to give an opportunity to do that. I'm not going to knock the Timberwolves or the Thunder the way they're playing, but I know how betting works and I know how teams shape up. You just got to get into the dance, and it's a 7-game series with a lot of rest for these veteran teams. That's where they get the advantage. But shout out the Timberwolves and OKC Thunder, 2 very good basketball teams. We'll see if they can earn those number 1 and number 2 seeds once we get to March.
And postseason positioning is not often the best thing in the NBA. Last year, we saw the Lakers out of the 7th spot get to the Western Conference Finals. In their second round, they took on the Golden State Warriors, who were the lower seed in their opening matchup against the Sacramento Kings. So if the Phoenix Suns do struggle a little bit, again, they've won 4 straight games, but if they end up as a 6 seed or a 7 seed, and Oklahoma City, after a sensational year, is the 2 seed, and you got to see KD, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker in the opening round, it's not exactly the most optimistic opener in the NBA playoffs. A best bet on this Wednesday next.
It looked like it was going in. It hit the upright and bounced out and did not go in. There's more scoring in an MLS soccer game than there is this Cotton Bowl.
The Chargers didn't know what the hell to do with Staley for years. They're a clown show in chief. Denver's got this issue, Gabe. Like, the Chiefs must just be sitting there going, wow, what a bunch of brain trust we work with in this division.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I'm laying the 14.5. And against the number as an underdog this year, meaning when they cover, they went out by beat. There's a very real chance that this Michigan season is the best chance they will have.
Oh, Rocky Top, Tennessee.
So, am I just a side better now? I'm right here on Saturday on College Football Today. It's bowl season, baby.
College Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Who are you taking? Well, especially if you know that maybe Kuzma could get moved. Tyus Jones is a free agent. To me, I'm taking Detroit with Cade, with Ivy, with Doran, and then obviously Ashore Thompson, and also because of Monty Williams, I know he's a better coach than that.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back,
The irony.
I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
In-game live, prime time. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're live right here, closing out our 3 hours together on this Wednesday on the early line on SportsGrid. I'm Ben Stevens. He is Donnie Rightside. This is the SportsGrid app, the ultimate sports betting companion app. The SportsGrid app is available for download at both the Apple and the Play Store. Scan the QR code on your screen. In the SportsGrid app, there are 5-star plays each and every day in your favorite sport, your favorite league, with your favorite team. 5-star plays is another word for, or a combination of words, for best bets. We do the same thing here. Before we say farewell and goodbye, it is time for bye, bye, bye. Donnie Rightside, tell the people, what do we like on this Wednesday?
Yeah, explained it further just in the previous segment here. I'm going to take a look at that Clippers-Phoenix Suns game tonight. Makes too much sense to pass up for me. Bradley Beal with Kevin Durant out. That probably means an extra 20 shots are up for grabs. Working his way back here from the injury, showing some signs of life over the past 2 games. And if they're going to win this game, they're going to need a big performance. But even if they're going to lose this game, somebody, as I said, still has to take the shots. Bradley Beal over 20.5 points for you tonight for the Phoenix Suns. That's where I'm headed, Ben.
Yeah, really like that look. The Clippers a 3.5-point favorite in the Valley against the Suns. Phoenix has won 4 straight. LA has won 3 straight. Both certainly Western Conference contenders. I go to college basketball. A new year means conference action pretty much for the entirety of the end of the 2023-24 college hoops regular season. Big East action in Providence, Rhode Island. The Providence Friars, a 6.5-point favorite against Hall Ball, Seton Hall under Shaheen Holloway. Providence booked as a 6.5-point home favorite. The Friars have been at home for all of their Big East games so far, a perfect 2-0 and 2-0 against the spread. The Friars have won all of their home games this year by double digits. I think Providence laying 6.5 makes some sense against Seton Hall tonight at home. He's Donnie Rightside. I'm Ben Stevens. We'll see you tomorrow on a Thursday, starting bright and early, live at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on SportsGrid.